Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Finance with Avrin. I'm back with a new video about updates in regards to the Trump tariff dividend $2,000 stimulus checks. Albeit not a lot of specific details, we do have some more information from President Trump via post on Truth Social, as well as interviews with Treasury Secretary Scott Besset. And I have some information from analysts and experts in regarding this matter. Yes, that is a recent post you see right there on the screen from President Trump on Truth Social. Let's get more into that post and some others that he made, as you see on the screen as well. What President Trump is saying. Now, Trump previously floated the idea of using tariff revenue to pay what he calls a dividend. I made a video all about that if you want to know the initial information in regards to the $2,000 stimulus tariff dividend check. So I won't go into details about the initial post, but the updates, what's new about this Trump dividend check. So Trump reiterated the $2,000 stimulus checks on a Truth Social post on Monday, November 10th, 2025, and he also made some remarks to reporters in the Oval Office on Monday. Trump stated that we're going to issue a dividend to our middle income people and low income people, about $2,000, and we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. Now, Ken Hassett, Trump's top economic advisor, told reporters at the White House on Monday the administration had initially thought it needed to use the tariff revenues solely for deficit reduction, but now say there's a chance to move forward with a dividend payment due to what he called a big surge in tax revenues. Of course, with the reiteration, I'm going to read this post to you. Trump stated that all money left over from the $2,000 payments made to low and middle income USA citizens from the massive tariff income pouring into our country from foreign countries, which will be substantial, will be used to substantially pay down national debt. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And of course, there's a couple of capitalized words in that post. So that's the post that pretty much reiterated the $2,000 amount. Now, and Trump also fired back at what he calls the radical left lunatics. Those are his words. This is an unbiased video. I'm not talking smack on either side, left, right, middle, up, or down, or anything like that. This is Trump right here. You see the post, because there were some people who came out and stated that the tariff revenue isn't as much as what's being said. So Trump took offense to that and made a post about that. I thought I'd put it on here as well, because in regards to tariff revenue, that's going to factor in as far as if these payments are able to actually happen or not. So Trump did fire back at that with that post. And then Trump also separately introduced another payment proposal, a $10,000 bonus, but this one wouldn't go to all Americans or just specifically lower or middle class income earners, anything like that. This $10,000 bonus is specifically targeted towards air traffic controllers who worked through the government shutdown. So Trump made a big post about this. You see it up there on the screen as well. I'm not going to read all of it. Don't want to make this video go on too long, but I'm going to zone in on the part about the $10,000 bonus. So Trump stated on Truth Social that all air traffic controllers must get back to work now. Capitalized exclamation points. Anyone who doesn't will be substantially docked. For those air traffic controllers who were great patriots and didn't take any time off for the Democratic shutdown hoax, I will be recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service to our country. So there you have it right there, the $10,000 bonus that he is proposing specifically for air traffic controllers who worked through the government shutdown. Then in some of the rest of the post, he calls out individuals who called out or didn't work during the government shutdown, saying that he is not happy with you. So that post goes on to that. So yes, another payment proposal right there, $10,000 for air traffic controllers who worked through the government shutdown. As of right now, that's just a proposal as well. Same as the $2,000 tariff dividend check, just a proposal, somewhat of a plan. Nothing specifically in place as far as legislation, no executive orders or anything like that currently. And as of right now, that's the information specifically that Trump has stated for both of these payments. There's no more specific eligibility info, criteria, or delivery mechanism info right now currently. As of right now, the morning of November 11th, 2025. Now let's get into what Treasury Secretary Scott Besset is saying about this matter. So in an interview with This Week on ABC, Scott Besset specifically stated that the $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways. It could be just the tax decreases that we are seeing on the president's agenda. You know, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans, those are substantial deductions that are being financed in the tax bill. So as you see right there, Treasury Secretary Scott Besset kind of sidestepped the actual payment of $2,000, like going out in the form of checks, or direct deposit in your account or something like that. He kind of almost shut it down in a sense, saying, hey, the $2,000 is going to be given to you in a ways via tax cuts, via the big beautiful bill. So if you're familiar with that bill, you know about some of those issues with the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I'll have links in the description of this video for my videos on the big beautiful bill in case you want to know more about those tax deductions. And also Scott Besset admitted that he has not discussed the proposal directly with Trump yet. So that definitely could change how he thinks about things and what he's going to say at the next interview after he speaks with Trump about this for sure. So he emphasized the logistics are still being evaluated. So like I stated before, this is still just a proposal, somewhat of a plan, nothing clear cut in legislation, no executive orders, anything like that specifically going on right now currently. And it was unclear as well on Monday whether Congress would support the rebate checks. And Republican Senator Josh Hawley in July introduced legislation to send out $600 per adult tariff rebate checks, but that has not been voted on yet. And that was in July of this year. So months ago, there was a senator who actually had an idea of tariff rebate checks, albeit a lower amount of $600, but Congress has not even voted on that. Now, there are some experts and analysts who have spoken out about this matter in regards to the numbers and other issues with these rebate stimulus checks. So Erica York at the Tax Foundation stated that if the plan covers 150 million adults at $2,000 each, you're looking at like $300 billion. So that 150 million adults is like for adults making under $100,000 a year, roughly. So timesing that with $2,000, it's going to equal about $300 billion. Now, depending on where you look as far as the tariff revenue, those numbers kind of change, So some people are saying the tariff revenue right now is between like 150 billion. Some people are saying between 150 billion to 200 billion. Now I have this graph that I found on the right that's showing that the $2,000 dividend check would exceed tariff revenue. However, on this chart right here, is stating that this $2,000 would be annually. Now, Trump hasn't said anything about this being an annual payment, to go along with the tariffs, like each year, anything right now. As of now, it's just seen as kind of a one-time thing. So this graph is interesting. I do like that it has the new tariff revenue and the previous tariff revenue on it. So you can just kind of see how it goes and how it would possibly continue years and years later. Now with the dividend check of $2,000, I would kind of pretty much look at that as like one-time thing. So it'd be like, boom, $300 billion, $600 billion, however much, depending on the amount of people that it would cover. Via the analyst at the Tax Foundation stated it would cost about $300 billion. However, the chart below from crfb.org shows that initial amount of the cost of the $2,000 dividends at around $600 billion. So it's really going to depend on much more numbers as how many people will be actually getting these dividend checks, as well as will revenue continue to be collected from the tariffs, because currently the Supreme Court is deciding the legality of the tariffs. So the tariffs could go on or they could get shut down. So that would definitely throw a wrench in the works as far as the $2,000 stimulus checks from the tariff revenue. And now the Goldman Sachs team has stated that tariffs aren't just revenue generators, they also slow growth. The tariff revenue goes into a general fund, and rebates would require congressional appropriation, meaning the payout is not automatic. So like I stated on the previous video, Congress would have to approve that the funds would be able to be used towards a payment towards U.S. citizens. So nothing that would be happening automatic. This is still something that would have to get worked out, voted on, pushed through Congress and everything like that. Unless maybe Trump did some kind of executive order for this, if that's legally possible. I'm not sure of the legality of that. It's not my specialty. I'm finance, I'm not legal, but that could be an interesting situation. So of course, the hype is there for the stimulus checks, but multiple institutions are pointing out why it might not happen as promised with relation to funding, legislation, and legal and economic risk. So there are some things, kind of roadblocks you can kind of say that may be in the way of this stimulus check. Now, what should you do right now in regards to this issue with the tariff dividend checks? So, file your taxes accurately. So next year, when it's time to file your taxes, make sure you do that accurately, because that's going to matter just in general, of course. And so if the payment comes to you via a tax credit, your return could determine how much you get. There's a possibility they could change the amounts, and depending on how much you make, what tax bracket you fall into, your tax situation, you may get a different amount. So you want to make sure you file your taxes accurately. And also just making sure your information is accurate as far as your contact information and your bank information for your direct deposit. You know, previously with these stimuluses, they've just been kind of deposited into the accounts that they have on file. So make sure the account you have on file is accurate and updated if it needs to be. Now, also what you want to do is watch out for scams. Now, typically no government agency will request your banking info or personal details to issue a rebate. Any kind of communication will come through the IRS and the Treasury as far as the details on what to do to obtain your stimulus check if it gets approved. Now, also what you want to do is plan financially. You know, treat this $2,000 as potential income, but don't really count on it. It's not guaranteed. So avoid making any major spending decisions based on it. Maybe you kind of think of it a little bit like, if I got the $2,000, what would I do? That way you just know, kind of have a plan in place of, oh, I would pay out the debt, or I would put it in my savings, or I'll put it in the stock market, or so forth. Just, you know, treat it kind of as a surprise, as a potential to happen, but not a guarantee right now. Now, also what you may want to do is follow legislative action. Congress may need to approve any payments, so keep an eye on any developments with that. So one way to keep an eye on these developments is to stay informed. You know, follow reliable sources like me here at Finance with Avrin for updates on this situation to help you stay informed on what's going on with these tariff dividend checks. And that is it, everyone, with my video on the update for November 11th in regards to the President Trump tariff dividend checks, also known as the tariff stimulus checks or tariff dividend rebate. They've been called multiple things. And be sure to like the video down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Much appreciated if you do either one of those. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Take care.